Many people have tried to explain the conflict in the Middle East. Denis Prager of Prager University recently expressed his view in a brief video. I fully share his concern about the Middle East and would like to fill in a few gaps. My name is Yakov Rabkin. I've taught contemporary Jewish history at the University of Montreal for over 20 years.
You know, the motto of Prager University is you give us 5 minutes and we'll give you a semester. Israel would like to exist and recognizes the right of the Palestinians to have a state. The Palestinians, however, and many other Muslims and Arabs, do not recognize the right of a Jewish state of Israel to exist.
Mr. Prager overlooks the offer made to Israel on behalf of 22 Arab states in 2002. The Arab League offers peace and recognition in exchange for withdrawal from the territories Israel occupied in 1967. The offer is still on the table. Yet, Israel ignores it and continues to expand its settler colonies. The conflict in Israel-Palestine has nothing to do with ancient history, ancestral hatreds, or religious differences. Nor has it anything to do with the clash of civilizations. For centuries, Palestine was populated by a mosaic of ethnic and religious groups. Most of them, including several thousand Jews, got along quite well. It's the arrival of Zionist settlers from Europe over a century ago that shook up the lives of these Jews. In fact, it shook up the lives of almost everyone in the Holy Land. Zionism was invented by a small group of German-speaking Jews in Central Europe. They knew little and cared even less about Judaism. They were also distant from the Jewish masses they claimed to represent. The Zionists accepted the standard anti-Semitic belief that Jews are a nation apart, a nation that could never find a place in European societies. The next logical step was that Jews, like any other European nation, deserved their own state. Like all good colonialists, Zionist leaders viewed the country they wanted to settle as practically empty. At the time, colonization by Europeans was normal, even praiseworthy. The locals, whether Jewish, Muslim, or Christian, were seen as primitive, and in any case, they were of little consequence.
Palestine will be cut in half, a Jewish half and an Arab half. The Jews accepted it, the Arabs didn't accept it. And
no wonder most locals rejected the partition plan. It allocated over one-half of Palestine to the Zionists, yet they made up less than a third of the country's population and owned only 7% of the land. The partition plan was adopted against the will of the majority of people in Palestine and against the will of all surrounding nations. The UN plan was not only a remnant of colonialism, but also a recipe for violence. When the Zionist leaders unilaterally declared independence in 1948, and its armed forces proceeded to expel or terrorize Arab civilians, nearly 800,000 people became refugees. When the UN later called on Israel to allow the refugees back, Israel not only refused, but proceeded to destroy hundreds of Palestinian villages. Israel added insult to injury by settling the lands it conquered from Egypt, Syria, and Jordan in 1967. It is this ongoing colonial settlement, rather than Arab stubbornness or militant Islam, that is at the root of this conflict. For over a century, the Zionists have consistently tried to occupy a maximum of land with a minimum of Arabs. A growing number of Israeli Jews resent the mere presence of Arabs in their country. Yet, most Jews rejected Zionism from day one, and many of them continue to oppose it in spite of Israel's economic success and military power. Today, Israel is a prosperous country actively seeking Jewish immigrants. Yet most Jews, including 1 million Israelis, prefer to live elsewhere, be it Germany, France, Russia, or the United States. Recent polls show that many young American Jews don't even relate to the idea of a state that defines itself as Jewish. They believe that their Jewish values are more in sync with liberal pluralistic democracies that don't discriminate between Jews and non-Jews. Indeed, the Jews remain deeply divided. Some of us are unconditional fans of Israel who support it right or wrong, and fear that any criticism of Israel will lead to its destruction. Others see in Israel a negation of the Jewish values of compassion and justice. Many Jews view Israel as the main source of anti-Jewish sentiment and even of violence against them. In fact, even if all Jews were to support Israel, they would still be in a clear minority compared with tens of millions of Christian Zionists around the world. They believe that today's state of Israel is a harbinger of the second coming of Christ. These Christians united for Israel provided with ever stronger political and economic support. As long as Israel can rely on Western leniency, it will continue to snub peace offers and expand its colonial settlement. But this support for Israel is shaky. While most Western governments show favoritism towards Israel, opinion polls consistently show that ordinary citizens view it as a major threat to world peace and security. Up to a point, the fate of peace for Israelis and Palestinians is in our hands, in the hands of concerned citizens who care to express their opinions and engage in democratic action. By focusing public attention on bringing justice to Israel-Palestine, ordinary people around the world can help Israel choose peace. This is Yakov Rabkin at the Department of History, University of Montreal.